Yes, I went from skinny fat to jacked, and in this video, I'm gonna explain my journey, my experiences, and hopefully you can apply everything that I teach you so you can apply it to your own fitness journey and you can get jacked as well. Now, before we get into any information, I want you to remember to take notes and apply, because if you're not gonna apply, then what is the point? Okay, if you're just watching for dopamine, then this video is not for you. This is for those who want to truly change themselves, to truly become jacked. This video is for you. But if you don't want to change it, then this video, you just go watch some Mr. Beast and stuff, you know what I mean? But this is for those who want to truly upgrade themselves. Now, the first thing we're gonna cover is my story. Okay, let's get into it. Now, I have three main phases with my fitness journey. I had the fat era, you see? So over here, I just looked super fat. I was just not in a good physical condition and also mental, you know what I mean? So this was just my fat version. This was about 6 to 8 years ago, and I just looking like very, very bad, feeling very bad. And listen, the reason I'm showing this is because I've had different phases, and I want to understand anybody that is in similar position like me, they can transform themselves too, right? So if you're fat, you can still get jacked, right? Now, after the fat era, I started going to the gym, but I wasn't necessarily getting the results that I wanted. And then we ended up in the skinny fat era, and the reason that you are here, right? So you're skinny fat right now and you want to get jacked, right? So look, I went from fat to skinny fat, right? This was my physique. Look at this. I was over here, I was about 230, 40 pounds. Over here, I was 170, 175-ish, You see, I was super skinny, kind of no muscle mass. Body fat wasn't high, but it was because there is no muscle mass, the body fat looked kind of over exaggerated. I looked kind of semi fat but also skinny. It just wasn't a good physique, right? So this was my skinny fat era. This was about a year into my lifting journey, and I was just kind of doing whatever, no plan, nothing, and I knew I had to change something, right? So this is my jacked era, aka now, which is after 6+ years of training, right? This is my current physique right now. This is latest that it gets, right? It's a couple days ago, 3-4 days ago maybe, I took this picture from my 75 hard. I finished that video, I finished that challenge, so go check that out. But back to the video, this is my current physique, right? So this is my phases, and the reason I'm showing this is because I want you to understand that this is possible. You can do this too, and I'm not special, and millions of people who've gone through this journey, they're not special, right? So now we're gonna get into the real important stuff. The problems and the struggles that I faced when I was skinny fat, right? Now, during the skinny fat times, I felt no different than when I was fat, okay? I felt no different. I was still feeling that terrible negative feelings, and just it wasn't a good phase to be at, right? I was scared to put on weight, fear of getting fat again. I know a lot of people that go from fat to skinny fat, they have this fear, right? I've heard of a lot of people, and in the previous clients that I work with, they had this fear, right? Now, another thing is that I had no muscle mass. Remember this picture that I showed you? I had barely any muscle mass. It's just not looking good. These were the things that I was struggling, right? I had a weak body with no strength. I was just weak, as you saw, the pictures I showed you over here. Look at this. Do you see anything special here? Just super weak, just your average scrawny, high school kid, right? This is not where you want to be. Now, another thing is that I had confidence of self-image issues, okay? This is very important because I'm going to cover this aspect later on, but I just felt like I was just not enough. I felt really bad about myself. I didn't really have confidence in myself. I didn't trust myself, So all these things was kind of related to my skinny fat physique, and also a lot of internal problems that we're going to cover later on. Also, I had clothing problems. Look at the outfits. Bro, look at this shit. It was just I was floating in the t-shirt, like this polo, right? I was floating in it. What is this? The jeans were falling down. It's just not a good look. You know what I mean? Just the skinny fat look is just not the best, honestly. It's just get away from it. I also had diet and nutrition problems. I didn't have any plans. I was just eating whatever. I was just eating garbage, to be honest with you. I didn't know what are macros, micros. Never tracked anything. I was sad, low energy, anxious. I had a lot of addictions, video game addictions. I was just at home eating junk food, doing nothing. It was just not a good position to be at. I know, and I understand a lot of people are in this situation. they're just feeling bad about themselves. They have no energy because they're not fit, because they're like kind of skinny fat. They don't necessarily feel great about themselves. I was mentally weak. I was fragile. I didn't necessarily push myself hard. The only thing that was really going hard was just FIFA at the times, like playing video games. But that was about it. Like everything else, I had like a weak mindset, fragile mindset. I didn't really know what to do with my life, honestly. And another thing is the dating issues. I'll be honest, like before I really started getting jacked, I was struggling with dating a lot. Like I never had a girlfriend. You know, I mean, I had like one girlfriend right before I got into the gym. You know, after I got heartbroken, I started training, but that was the only thing. That was the only time I experienced some time with women. And after that, I'm not saying I'm Mr. Mr. Steal Your Girl or something, but like it's definitely way better. My confidence is way better. Everything is just much better. Clothing is looking way better on me. So there is a great side on me, a great side to the things. And this was the problems that I was like facing during the skinny fat times. Like I was really in the down bad era. Like, and I know a lot of you guys who are watching this, you probably are in this similar situation. Like I just don't want you to be like feeling these negative things. And the faster you get rid of this, the better it's gonna be, right? Now, this is like my picture during those skinny fat times. You just see like this outfit is just like I got like a small or something, just barely fitting me. Like I looking like victim weight. And I was 175, but because I'm kind of tall, I'm like 6'1". It's just not looking good, right? Like you see like the pants are like kind of weird. Over here the shirt is floating. Like just not a good look. My face is kind of bloated even though I'm like skinny fat. I'm not even that fat, but my face just doesn't have a good structure. So these are the main things that I struggled with my skinny fat era, and I just hated those times, right? I needed to make a change, right? Now, the turning point, this is where a lot of you guys have to, pay attention. The turning point was that I was like, there has to be a better way, there had to be a better way. And I was tired of being a skinny fat, just a victim weight kid. And it was time for change, honestly, right? So for me, the turning point was that I realized I have to gain muscle and get jacked, right? So that was the only solution, because what else are you gonna do? Are you gonna just go back to being fat? Or are you just gonna stick to being like, skinny fat and being a, victim weight stick guy, right? There has to be, that was the only choice, getting jacked and gaining muscle, right? So I was like, okay, it's now time to change it, right? And that's the reason you're here for. You want to go from skinny fat to jacked, right? And I'm going to give you my story. Just hold up. Now, another thing that I noticed that I have to change is that eating the wrong foods and low calories, trying to be skinny, was BS. That was my method pretty much. I was like, let me just eat certain foods to pretty much eat lower calories to like keep a lower weight or whatever. And I just ended up being skinny, and it was just BS, right? I had to start putting size on muscle mass. That was another thing I had to change, and it was like a light bulb moment for me, is that, bro, you gotta put on size and muscle mass. Simple. And I had to understand that putting on weight is okay. Like a lot of these people in the fitness industry, especially when you're in your beginning stages and you're natural, like, bro, you have to gain weight. You have to put on size, and it's just part of the process. And you gotta let go of that, like, oh my God, I'm gonna like gain weight. You gotta let go of that mindset, right? Another thing is that I was like, more muscle meant stronger and a more aesthetic frame, right? So I was like, I gotta get a muscle because I know I'm gonna be stronger. And when you're stronger, you can also put on more muscle. So it just goes back and forth. And also you're gonna be more aesthetic, right? You're gonna have a more aesthetic body. It's more attractive to women. Simple as that, you know what I mean? And also, I had realized that I have to change my mindset and shift it towards a long-term plan. I have to be a long-term guy. None of this 3-month, 6-month, like quick fix things, because it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help nobody, right? So you need to shift your mindset from that and go from a short-term guy to a long-term guy. You know what I mean? You got to see it like a huge in decades. That's the way you got to plan your fitness journey. I'm not saying wait for the results to show up in decades, but I'm saying you gotta position yourself in a way that you're gonna be able to perform in many decades. You're in your 50s, in your 60s, you're gonna still be looking good, jacked, healthy. You know what I mean? You gotta see it like that. And another thing is that updating my identity and self-image, pretty much it was another thing I need to realize I gotta do. Just like I mentioned right now, is like you gotta be a lifelong student, and that's part of the process. You gotta be a lifelong student. And this game is not for the people who are just seeking for like a 3-month transformation, right? This is for those who want to like truly change themselves and become jacked like for the long term. Like you want to look good forever. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm looking good for the next 3 months. Don't be that guy, right? So Again, when I was skinny fat, I was just ignoring a lot of these things. I was like, okay, I realized I gotta change a lot of things, because if I continue doing the same thing, I'm gonna get the same results, right? Now, look at me, right? This is my skinny fat era. I was gaining a bit of muscle mass, but just nowhere near the amount of muscle mass I have right now. And you see, even though like I was kind of like skinnier, like, or way lower weight than right now, my face is kind of not looking aesthetic. Like, it's just not defined. My body is just kind of like, very like weak, fragile frame. And the truth is that I had to let go of the fear of putting on weight. Yeah, I was like, oh, let me just eat like one, just a couple eggs, like 2, 3 eggs, or I don't want to eat too much meat because it's too many calories, or don't want to eat rice or potatoes. Just eating vegetables, depriving my body from nutrients. It's just not a good thing, right? I had the fear of putting on weight, because I was used to be the fat kid for a long time. And when I lost all that weight, I was like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back, I don't want to go back to my fat times, right? And I was like, this is not a bad physique. I'd rather have this than being fat. But that's where my mistake was. As a natural, you got to put on weight and mass. And that's the key to looking better and feeling better, right? So for me, it was time to gain muscle and get jacked. Simple as that. That was the only thing I realized in my mind. And I was like, listen, this was a turning point. I'm tired of being this skinny fat guy. I'm tired of being this, this geeky guy just like playing FIFA all day. It's time to hit the gym. It's time to like properly train. Even though I was going to the gym, I wasn't really training. I was like, it's time to properly train, get my stuff together, and like get jacked, right? Now, after this section, we're gonna cover my transformation and my growth right now, right? So this is pretty much how I transform myself. Okay, I'm gonna give you everything I learned through my journey, right? So this is my current physique. As I said, this is a couple days ago I took these pictures, and there are three main components to my transformation and my growth, right? So number one, mindset, which includes kind of your identity, beliefs, self-image, etc., right? Then your training, then diet. These are the main three components that I had to change to become the jacked version of me. You know what I mean? So we're gonna start with the mindset, and the reason I'm covering the mindset is because it's the most important, right? Because mindset is the first and the most important step to any transformation. Is pretty much your mental aspect, the mindset, right? You gotta transform yourself mentally first. That's the foundation, okay? You may be able to change yourself physically here and there, but if you don't change internally first, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna have longevity, So that's the key. Start mentally, okay? And this is how I did it, right? So number one, I had to find my identity. I had to discover who I wanted to become, okay? The who is absolutely important. Deciding on my desired physique was the key. What type of physique I wanted to have, right? What type of person I wanted to become. This was like a question that I needed to ask myself, right? And the answer was that I desired to be jacked, lean, strong, muscular. That was the type of physique I wanted to go for. I didn't want to be too like diced lean, because I feel like you look kind of small. You have to cut your calories like crazy, and I personally don't want to go through that. I don't really want to experience that state. I mean, you can get there sometimes here and there, maintain it for like a couple weeks, but it's not good for longevity. Your hormones get messed up. You feel tired. It's just your libido goes to shit. Like, it's just not a good feeling, right? So when I decided the who and my desired identity, all I had to do was to work backwards. So when I decided who I wanted to become and my desired identity, I pretty much had to just work backwards to find out what should I do, right? Now, I asked myself, what would the jacked version of me do, okay? The moment you do that and start operating from the mental state of your desired version, you have successfully updated your identity. I'm gonna read this again, take your notes. The moment you do that and start operating from the mental state of your desired version, you have successfully updated your identity. When you do this, consistency and discipline won't be an issue. And I tell this to a lot of my clients. I have mentioned this in these previous videos too. People do not have consistency problems, okay? They have consistency problems because they're being consistent with the wrong things and not the right things, okay? So when you change your identity, you're just gonna be naturally consistent with the right things. Your actions and habits will naturally be aligned with your new identity. The moment you change yourself internally, all these things are gonna shift. And the reason I never really struggled with my actions and habits, it wasn't perfect, but I definitely I never really had like a real struggle. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm struggling. It's because I shifted my identity and it helped me so much. And I noticed a lot of people are talking about it nowadays. And it makes sense because the moment you change internally, there is no resistance to you being consistent. Okay? Now, because everything you're doing from the diet, training, habits, and mindset is from the state of your jacked version, right? It's because you aligned your identity, right? Because you aligned your identity, all these things just happens naturally. Your diet, training, habits, mindset, it just becomes effortless, right? Because it's you. That's your new version. That's the beauty of it, right? So you need to change your identity first, okay? Now, we're gonna go to beliefs. I had to update my beliefs as well, right? So all I had to ask myself was, do my beliefs serve me, right? Because we have a lot of beliefs, or even I used to have a lot of beliefs, even probably to this day I have it, is that we have beliefs that just don't help us. We have beliefs that hold us back, which doesn't make sense. Why would you believe in something if it holds you back? It doesn't make sense, right? Like it genuinely doesn't make sense. Why would you believe in something that's holding you back? It's just crazy to me, right? So number one, analyze if your beliefs are serving you, right? If they're not, change it. The answer to many of them was no. My beliefs were just not serving me, right? For example, the belief that I shouldn't gain weight because it's bad, or the fear of gaining weight itself, right? That was a belief that was just holding me back. I'm like, wait, why do I believe this is just stupid, you know? So I stopped, I let go of that belief. I'm like, okay, I had to update it, right? My mental blueprint had to be designed in a way to serve me and not control me. And this applies to you as well. And then this applies to not necessarily only fitness, but in all aspects of your life, whether dating, relationships, business, everything, right? Your mental blueprint has to be designed in a way to serve you, okay? And not control you. Make sense? Take your notes. This is like valuable information that I'm giving you. So my beliefs were shifted to the jacked version of me, right? So I thought, I felt, I moved, and I lived like a jacked person way before I actually got jacked. Now you get where I'm going with this, right? So you're pretty much working backwards until your desired version of yourself just becomes reality. Simple as that. You know what I mean? So again, I'm gonna repeat this again because I want you to take notes and really program your mind. You have to move, feel, think, live like the jacked version of you way before you get actually jacked. You know what I mean? And again, once again, this applies to every single part of your life. That's where your mind needs to be, okay? Now, we're gonna go to self-image. I had to change the way I saw myself, my perception, right? When I was skinny fat, I saw myself as a lost cause, a loser. I thought I'm unable to change myself. The person internally was weak. You know, I myself, right? The person I was like, I'm weak, right? I thought other people have something that I don't. Again, I thought other people have something that I don't. And I know a lot of you guys are thinking this. You're like, oh, like I'm just not enough, I'm not good. And that's wrong. You have it. You can do this. Anybody can do this if they put their mind to it, right? It's complete BS. It's absolute BS. I had to accept myself first, okay? This is the first step. You have to accept yourself first. You are already complete. You have everything you need, okay? I am that I am what I am, and I am who I am. Read this again. I am that I am what I am, and I am who I am. Accept yourself. When you truly accept yourself, when you truly accept who you are truly, then you can start making change because you're not doing it from a state of lack. You're not doing those changes because of a state of insecurity. You're doing it because you want to fulfill your potential, right? So to fix my self-image, I had to be self-accepting. You have to be self-accepting, okay? And you're gonna be like, wow, why is he talking about this type of things regarding fitness, right? But I'm telling you, the moment you shift this, it's gonna be easy for you. It's gonna be flawless for you because you're changing internally, and your physical world is just gonna naturally change because as within, as without, okay? So you need to accept yourself first, okay? You need to understand, okay, I am that I am what I am, and I am who I am, okay? Simple. The moment you do that, you will begin upgrading yourself. Not necessarily because you are less than others, but because you want to evolve and fulfill your potential. Accept yourself. You are already complete, okay? I want you to operate from this mental paradigm, okay? You are already complete. You're no less than anybody. You're just doing all these tasks and things to truly fulfill your potential, to give your gift to the world, to become your best selves, to inspire other people. That's the reason, okay? Not doing it from a state of insecurity, but doing it to help other people, to help motivate people, inspire people, and to fulfill your potential, okay? This is deep. I want you to truly internalize this information because I'm telling you, this is gonna change your life. And the reason I've been consistent with the gym so much and never really slacked with the gym from day one, even though when I was fat, is because I kind of understood this. Even though it's not necessarily the concept, I didn't necessarily know the ins and outs and everything detailed, but I had an idea of this. And my whole thing was like, listen, I am that I am. It is what it is. Like, I may be physically fit, but I'm no less than anybody, right? So I'm doing this to fulfill my potential, to inspire other people and to push other people to get better, because at the end of the day, we all come from the same source. And we are just one, right? We may be in different physical shapes, but we are all one. We come from the same source. So why not help other people? Why not inspire other people? Because you're technically helping yourself. You're, upgrading other people, and that's like a good thing for you, because they're all part of you. You are part of them, Now, to recap, the 3 key phases of your mindset are your identity, fix that. Your beliefs, update it. And your self-image, you need to be self-accepting, okay? Now, the next part, the training. When I had the mindset on point, it was time to fix my training, okay? So here are some things that my skinny fat version would do at the gym, right? Your skinny fat version. Train with no intensity, no desire to go to failure, talking and socializing too much, just talking to anybody for randoms, for no reason, just wasting time, constantly being on my phone, didn't try to test my strength or push my strength really, train good when I felt good. Again, this is what my skinny fat version was doing. It was like train good when I felt good. It's pretty much operating only based on my emotions whenever I felt really good, you know what I mean? Which is absolutely crazy. I had no program or plan. I was just swinging it, just freestyling everything. I didn't know what I was doing. I was complacent and lazy. I wasn't really pushing myself to go out and really get it, like go attack the weights, attack the training, just go all out, like to really push myself. I was just going there for vibes. And again, in the beginning, to be honest, it even helped me to kind of be more consistent with the gym. Maybe that's the reason I was able to be consistent. But the progress-wise, I wasn't making progress. I'll just keep it simple. And a lot of the reasons was just this. The reason I was skinny fat, because all these things, training-wise, these were my main issues. I was just doing whatever. So to get jacked, I had to change my training as well. So here is what I did to fix that. And I want you to listen carefully because you can make these changes too, right? So I started to train intensely, going all out. When I went to the training, when I went to the gym, I was like, bro, I gotta kill these weights. I'm going there to dominate them. And this is my space. I'm gonna go all out. I gotta tear my muscles like crazy, right? Focused on training until failure. Like I was going all the way to failure to destroy my muscles for growth. That's the reason. You go to the gym not to like take care of your muscles and look at your muscles. Oh my God, let me just flex. Even though you can do it sometimes here and there. But your goal at the gym is to destroy your muscles so when you rest, they can grow bigger. That's the only thing that you should be there for, right? So I stopped talking and socializing too much too. Working out alone helps, right? So whenever you're training with your homies or your friends, it can be fun. Honestly, it's probably much more fun. Like you just make jokes, talk shit, you know what I mean? It's probably fun. But for progress-wise, I personally thrive when I'm working out alone because I'm just locked in. I'm not focused on anything else. I'm just doing my thing, getting things fast, getting things done fast, just working out crazy, and moving on, right? That's the whole thing. And no more scrolling at the gym because that pretty much I stopped scrolling and wasting time on my phone too, even though it still happens sometimes. But I removed this habit forever, right? But I don't really do it that often. And I started to go heavy with my lifts and increase my strength, aka progressive overload, right? So another thing I want you to do if you're skinny fat is, bro, you gotta go heavy, lift heavy, and increase your strength like with progressive overload, right? Every time you go to the gym, start increasing your strength, right? I showed up and I started training no matter how I felt, right? Remember I said my skinny fat version was just train good when he felt good, right? My jacked version was like, bro, you training hard regardless of how you feel. Oh, you're tired? You going all out. You're feeling sad? Oh, you going all out. This is just how it is, you know what I mean? And then I got on consistent and an effective training program. Now I know what I was working on, right? I had a proper training thing that I was following. I was like, okay, let me just follow this. I started watching YouTube videos and getting advice from different people to, fine tune my training. I was like, okay, I'm finally getting progress. I finally am actually seeing something, right? And then I started to strive more and go out of my comfort zone when lifting. I was like kind of half-assing things. I wasn't really pushing myself. I was like, oh, let me just go. Like, I don't want to be sore for the next day. I don't want to be like feeling pain. But that's stupid. You need to strive for more and go out of your comfort zone, right? You're going there to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Simple. Now, another thing I did was like I've started focusing on working on all muscles, upper body, lower body, abs, etc. Like sometimes I was ignoring certain muscles during my skinny fat time. My body looked kind of imbalanced, and it just wasn't a good look. Like I looked skinny in certain areas. Some areas it was like okay, some muscle, but in other areas I was like fat. Like bro, what was going on? You need to work on all muscles. Treat your body as like a work of art. Imagine if you have like a piece of art, you're working on it. You're not gonna let the paper be empty in some parts. You're gonna fill it up completely. You're gonna work on every single part, and you're gonna make sure it looks good and it performs good, right? As for your body, right? But regarding art, the goal is to make it look good, right? So same thing with your body. You need to train every single part of your body because every single part of your body has a purpose, right? So why not? Why would you ignore it, right? And then another thing that I noticed, and this is extra, and I want you to pay attention because this is super important, is tracking and analyzing my body, right? With progress pics or feedback from others. When you start tracking and analyzing your body and getting feedback from other people, you're like, okay, I'm struggling with this. I gotta work on this. Boom, I stopped making progress here. Maybe I'm making too much progress here. So you start seeing the patterns and you're like, okay, it's time to change. And that's the beauty. When you don't track, you're slacking. Now, there are many different programs that you can follow depending on your goals and body, right? My aim with this specific video is to give you the principles to apply. Why am I giving you the principles to apply? Because you can make sure that you always grow, right? You can change the training here and there, like the workouts, the exercises, those small details, but the principles are a forever thing. They can apply to anything, right? The principles are a forever thing. So the moment you start applying them, you're gonna see the results and the progress forever, okay? That's the reason I'm giving you the principles, because it's so important. Principles in anything, in all aspects of your life, is so important. Whether it's your relationships or business or your school, certain principles or universal principles, right? They just never go away. You gotta always follow them, and this is the principles that I'm giving you to follow. And these principles never age, okay? Now, we're gonna get to the nitty-gritty of the diet. And listen, with the diet, to complement a great training program, you must have great nutrition. My skinny fat version fumbled this part so bad. Like my diet was trash. I'm just being genuine. Like it was really bad. I was just cutting off everything good, like eating junk food. It was a mess. Okay, it was just a mess. Okay. And here are my biggest mistakes. Not having a high protein diet. I don't know. I was getting like 50 to 100 grams of protein, and I was about 200 pounds or 180 pounds or whatever. And it's just not a good thing. I was eating too much veggies. Believe it or not, I was eating a lot of vegetables like lettuce and I don't know, tomatoes or what else, carrots. And listen, you should have them, but I was overeating. I was like, oh, I don't want to gain weight, right? They just fill you up. You're not hungry for a while. But it was just fiber, right? It didn't have any specific nutritional value. Like it wasn't like, nutritionally dense. I was scared of eating, to be honest. Like you wouldn't believe, but I was like, oh, I don't want to eat this. I'm going to starve myself. Like I don't want to gain weight. And that's what happens when you do this. You start getting like, skinny fat. A lot of guys do this, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be fat. And then another thing is that not getting healthy fats from nuts, animal fats, or dairy and stuff. It's important to get fats. Fats are absolutely crucial for your hormones, right? As a man. I was using vegetable oils and seed oils for my food, which is terrible, again, for your testosterone. You already know the researches and stuff. It's just terrible, right? These oils are not even supposed to be for humans, right? These are like machinery oils, which is absolutely crazy. This is what the fast food companies use to make their food, right? Just understand this. This is not good for you. I wasn't eating enough red meat and eggs because red meat has so much nutritional density. It's so strong. It's so valuable. And I wasn't really eating enough of it. And also eggs. Eggs is absolutely crucial, okay? Eggs is absolutely valuable, and you should eat more eggs, especially as a guy, because it's crazy for your testosterone, for your hormones. It has good protein, good macronutrients. It's so valuable. Another thing I noticed is that I put too much focus on supplements. They're called supplements for a reason. They're there to supplement your diet, not to be the main part. And I was just having a lot of protein powder and replacing my real protein with protein powder. Just idiotic move from me, right? So don't do this. Making excuses for not being consistent with what I eat. For example, family meals or going out, right? You're like, oh, I can't be consistent with my diet because my family is eating this. Or I can't be consistent because I'm going out with my friends. No, yes, you can. Yes, you can be consistent. You just have to. You just have to have the desire to be consistent. Simple as that. If you're not being consistent, it's just because you're slacking, you're lying to yourself, and you just don't want that body. Simple as that. I've been there. I used to say, oh, my family's getting cakes or cookies, oh, I'm just gonna eat it. What kind of mindset is that? If you let the external world control you, if you let the external world impact your internal state and your true desires and your mental state, you're pretty much a feather in the wind. You're just gonna be blown everywhere, because you have no foundation. Your foundation isn't strong, and you're just affected by anything. So you're just blaming your external world instead of taking responsibility. Close your mouth and don't eat the junk food. Simple as that. Another mistake that I made was like I cut off carbs or fats pretty much. Like I was either going low fat or low carbs, and I felt like it was just hindering my performance, right? Because I was seeing certain things on social media and I felt like, oh, it's gonna help me out, but it never worked for me, to be honest, because I believe all macronutrients are needed, right? Whether it's carbs, fats, I believe they're needed, right? Sometimes I went to low carb diets and it wasn't necessarily low like with like the grams wise. It was mainly just like I wasn't eating too much of it, like volume wise. Like I was mainly eating fruits and honey. That was my main source of carbs. But I would say it's stupid to cut carbs, stupid to cut fats. You need every single macronutrient, right? And I also didn't get high quality micronutrients from fruits, vitamins, and minerals, right? So you need to get these high quality micronutrients because they help your body operate properly, right? This is what makes you healthy, right? Your macros make you feel healthy, your macros make you look good, right? So don't ignore any of them. I also had the issue of binge eating after starving myself, right? I'm sure like a lot of you guys can recognize this and you can definitely relate to this, is that you start eating like crazy after you're like, starving yourself for like a couple weeks or a couple months and you're like, oh my God, let me eat this, let me eat that. Like, it's just absolutely stupid, right? So don't do that. And again, another mistake that I said, this is absolutely crucial, is that I didn't track. I was just guessing. I was like, let me just do this, let me do that. Like, bro, that's absolutely crazy. Don't do that. Track. So this was the result. This is what I looked like. The first pic was like when my fat era, and the bottom was like when I was the skinny fat era. Look how I looked. Victim weight, right? Absolutely. I was 170, looking like a geek, mouth breathing, just what is going on, right? So remember, you are what you eat. Take this serious, right? Now, here is how I fixed my diet. I started protein maxing. Red meat, eggs, high protein diet, just trying to get at least a gram of protein per pound of body weight, because I feel like that's pretty optimal. You can go a bit lower, but I would say a gram per pound of body weight is pretty solid. You can go wrong with that. I started eating a little bit less veggies, more carbs like sweet potato, rice, oatmeal to put on size and actually perform better at the gym. Although right now I'm eating a bit less of them, or pretty much none, because I'm like dropping body fat. I'm eating, my main carbs are coming from like, fruits and honey again. And it just doesn't really necessarily make me feel heavy. But again, if you want to put on size and you want to get jacked, these are what the foods you need, especially in the initial phases of your lifting career. Another thing I did is I started eating the surplus, which was like about low to moderate. I wasn't going like crazy, right? This definitely started helping me to put on size, and I was getting jacked. It was helping me out a lot. I started getting in more fats because it's good for your testosterone and your hormone optimization, right? So do not ignore your fats. I started to follow my diet plan, which was, I didn't have in the past. And no matter where I was and who I was with, right? So again, I was consistent with my diet no matter where I was, who I was with. I was going out with my friends. I was at home. My family was getting pizza. Didn't care. Doesn't matter. You're eating the same thing that you're supposed to be eating for your fitness goals, right? I don't care. And also another thing, you should have a diet that you actually enjoy. A lot of people make it like, oh, you gotta hate your diet. But it's not supposed to be like that. I love my current diet. When you start eating clean and eating healthy, you can find creative ways to make it taste better. It's just wonderful. Like, you're not supposed to be like, talking shit about your healthy diet, because a lot of people who are talking shit about it is because they're eating chicken, rice, and broccoli. And they think that's the pinnacle of healthy eating. Like, come on, let's be serious, right? If you know how to cook, if you know how to season, you don't need to worry about that. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to my Middle Eastern people. But I also started, taking creatine, no other supplements, occasionally protein powder, but creatine was what I actually started taking, and it was benefiting me massively. And to this day, I'm still taking creatine, right? I started having more micronutrient dense foods, like fruits, nuts, fatty meats, even raw dairy and stuff. It was definitely helping me a lot because they're micronutrient dense foods and you need that. No more starving myself. I wasn't like fasting for like 2-3 days or whatever, or I wasn't like, killing my gains with just not eating like barely any food or something. I was like, oh, I'm going to gain weight. I wasn't like calorically depriving myself. I was just being smart with it. And this is super important. Again, track your food. I know I mentioned this like 2-3 times, but the importance of this is that you need to know how much you're eating, because I feel like if I personally need to see how much I'm eating, because I start guessing, it's not gonna work. And same thing, I feel like a lot of you guys, the reason you can't make progress is that you're not tracking. The moment I started tracking, that's when the real gains started coming, you know? And also you need to know how much you're eating. Just like I said, no guessing, track. When I fixed all of this, I started to gain lean mass and look fuller, right? So this is my physique before C19. And this is when I started making those adjustments, and I was already seeing progress. You see that the facial structure was changing, the body was changing. And then when C19 came, I obviously had to stop training. Gyms were closed. Gyms were closed, so I had to stop lifting. But then this is me after C19. This is how I looked. And then this is me right now, because I'm definitely looking way leaner than the second picture. As you see, my face looks more structured. I was kind of a little bit more, slightly more bloated, I want to say, in this second picture. But over here is like definitely way leaner, way more aesthetic, right? This is my current self, right? Now, to recap, focus on your diet and eating the things that I mentioned, right? If your diet isn't on point, you're not gonna get anywhere. Simple, right? Apply the information that I give. Just don't just watch, right? You gotta apply it. All these 3 components that I went through led to my growth. That's how I transform myself, right? From skinny fat to jacked, right? Your mindset, your training, and your diet, all of them go hand in hand. So do not ignore any of them. Apply everything I said, and remember, start internally first, okay? Now, we're gonna go to the lessons that I learned, and this is the good parts, right? Here's what I learned from me going from skinny fat to jacked, right? So I learned that I gotta become a lifelong student. Never stop learning, because the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop dying. You start dying, right? So you gotta always learn, and never stop learning, right? That's the motto of a lifelong student. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But be adaptable. If one method is not working, don't give up on your goal. Change your approach, right? I'm gonna read this again. Pay attention. Be adaptable. If one method is not working, don't give up on your goal. Change your approach, okay? Live, move, feel, think, and operate from your desired version. In this case, your jacked self, right? And this is applicable to all aspects of your life. Again, this is super important. This is some sauce I'm giving you. Live, move, feel, think, and operate from your desired version. In this case, your jacked self. Master the law of accumulation. Everything you do counts. Stack up those daily small wins to build a big momentum towards your goal, right? Be in love with the process. The journey is the price, right? I want you to emphasize, really pay attention to this. I'm emphasizing on this because I want you to really listen. Be in love with the process. The journey is the price, the ups and the downs, the lessons. If you truly want to change yourself, you can and you will, right? Again, this is all internal stuff that I'm telling you. Do not let your external world affect your internal world. Maintain your peace and always stick to the plan, and do not let others' negativity influence you, right? So again, do not let the external world shift your internal state. Be in peace, be calm, and always move with the plan, right? These lessons are applicable to most aspects of your life, if not all. They're valuable things I've learned after many, many years of being on my self-development journey. And to this day, I'm still learning every single day. I'm reading books every single day. So I'm developing myself every single day, right? So I always have new sauce to tell you, and at the end of the day, everything in history, every knowledge that you see online on YouTube, every single person, nothing is new under the sun, right? Everything has already been said. We just describe those things with new lenses of perspectives, and from our own experiences and our own ups and downs and our own wins and losses, and that's how we're able to grow ourselves, grow our communities, grow our world, and also grow the consciousness, right? So this is how we are able to grow as a person and apply these fundamental things that I'm telling you, right? Because you can pretty much transfer it anywhere. So again, don't forget, take your notes and apply. Now, this is important. It's your turn now to go from skinny fat to jacked, and this is like a motivation for you, right? What's next for you? Okay, I have some questions for you. What's next for you? Did you take the notes? Are you going to apply or just watch? Are you one of those people that just watches and doesn't do anything? Why would you watch this video if you're not going to take advice and you're not going to take application, you're not going to apply this, right? So apply it, start improving yourself, right? This is the whole reason I'm making this video. It's been 40 minutes, And what's the point, right? I want you to make a change. I want you to improve yourself. Now, do not let your potential go to waste. You have your crazy potential. You can do anything you want. So do not let it go to waste. You can get jacked too, just like many others and myself, right? So there is a reason you clicked on this video, right? You are desiring a change, so make it happen, okay? One more time. There is a reason you clicked on this video. You are desiring a change, so make it happen, okay? Your future self will thank you. Okay? Do not let down your future self, okay? Now, I have some actionable steps for you, and this is the final part that we're gonna go over, right? Now, boom. Before we get into the actionable steps and tips, I want to applaud you for getting this far. Many people watch a 5-minute video to get their dopamine needs and then not take action. I'm glad you're not one of those people. I'm glad you're watching some content with good substance and something that's gonna change your life forever, and not something just like you're gonna get some dopamine and move on and like scroll for more content. You know what I mean? You're making a huge decision. I'm proud of you, right? You are part of the elite, and I know you want to upgrade yourself, and that's amazing. Good stuff, man. Now, to make the process of you gaining muscle much more smooth and simple, unlike my journey, I can personally help you gain muscle and get jacked, right? If you need help and you're struggling, DM me start on Instagram for more details, and I can help you with that, right? Now, we're gonna go to the actionable steps to follow, right? Begin implementing everything I talked about, right? So if you're not gonna implement, what's the point, right? So that's the action step number 1, implement everything that I told you. Number 2, start documenting and tracking your progress, right? If you're not documenting and tracking, you're not gonna see where you're making mistakes. You're not gonna see where you're making your wins. So there's gonna be no point, right? So start documenting, start tracking. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start today, okay? I don't want you to have this like, oh my God, I'm tired today, or I can do this. Start training today. If you want to sign up for the gym, start taking your diet seriously. Do it today. There's no more time to waste, okay? Now, another thing I want you to pay attention is to rewatch the video at times to remind yourself of the information that it gave you, right? So every time you feel you're getting a struggle, save this video, you're struggling with these topics, come back to this video, check your notes, and remember to remind yourself of these things, right? And then the last thing I'm going to tell you to do is for yourself and also for other people that are watching is to comment the most valuable thing you learned in this video, right? Again, comment the most valuable thing you learned in this video. Now, huge respects to you for willing to educate yourself. Most people rather watch mukbangs or Mr. Beast videos. That's a huge thing that you did. So big respects to you, okay? I know you're going to transform yourself and get jacked, okay? I know you got that, so easy for you. And to wrap it up, thank you for watching. It was a big video. It was a long video. I've worked on this for many hours, and I'm glad I'm done with this video. I hope you can get great value from this. So drop your notes in the comments, and that's it.